here's Brody Brazil.
You know, it's kind of a sad state of the times that I can make a video and put 7 logos up on your screen right now to talk about MLB relocation danger ratings. That's right, all of these franchises to some degree are not exactly on stable footing in their current home market. That's a lot of teams, and to varying degrees and situations, they're just not set in stone that they're going to continue playing where they have in recent times. We'll get into each team one by one as part of this. I'll kind of give a summary in just a second, but think of the bigger picture here right now. This is not good for baseball. And when you exclude the Brewers, who just had their public funding request basically satisfied, and some other teams that have recently gone through that, like the Orioles and getting what they want, it's more closer to 10 out of 30 teams, like 1/3, but I'll be generous here and call it 7 out of 30. So approximately 1/4 of Major League Baseball teams are going through some kind of stadium situation where they're not happy, they're not satisfied with what they currently have, they want more, they want different, they want public help, and quite honestly, a lot of times they want to make the situation difficult if, in fact, they're even able to stay. So let's go through this team by team. Let's begin in Florida with the Tampa Bay Rays. And my status here is soon to be sorted out. Possibly it could go one of two ways, good or bad, for this team staying in St. Petersburg. They're currently negotiating on the current site of Tropicana Field, the gas plant site as it's called, but they're working with the city of St. Pete and Pinellas County. Now, they have upped the affordable housing units. They're still filling in some of the financial blanks. You remember there was a plan that came out 6-7 months ago, but it had a lot of holes in it in terms of final details and number amounts and money amounts. All of that stuff is starting to come together, but the bottom line is the negotiations are now happening, and ultimately they will still need the right votes by the city of St. Pete and Pinellas County to actually move forward. So to think that it's a done deal like it was played out to be late 2023, that's not exactly the case. They're in the middle of the dirty work. And again, they were hoping to be in a new stadium by 2028. Time is ticking on all of this. And yes, the ground is ready to go. It's ready to be built on right next to the current Tropicana Field. But the point is, none of the approvals have actually happened. And what if things go south? What if they can't come to an agreement here? So soon to be sorted out. I certainly hope in the next month or so they can get some of these votes in motion and at least understand what's possible or not. Because if they don't stay in St. Pete and Tampa's kind of been ruled out, you know there's a group right up the road in Orlando that would love to poach themselves a Major League Baseball team. All right, how about the Oakland A's? I'm going to say their status is halfway somewhere. They've already established that they'll be moving to Sacramento after this current 2024 Major League Baseball season. They'll be playing in West Sacramento, technically, at the current home of the AAA Rivercats, who are the San Francisco Giants minor league affiliate. The ballpark seats about 10,000, has a capacity of 14,000. It's about 25 years old. Beautiful spot. It's just an aging minor league stadium. Now, they've got Major League Baseball approval, the team does, to actually do the relocation ultimately to Las Vegas. But that part is still very much, at least up in the air on a couple different things. They've yet to finalize several key agreements, like a development agreement and all the community benefit stuff with the proper Las Vegas channels. The A's have also yet to finalize private funding details for this Las Vegas stadium. So all of that to be sorted out and decided, and it's taking time. And there's also some other legal actions going on. To summarize this very plain and straightforward, there's a lot of people who are hypothesizing that because of what makes it difficult in Las Vegas eventually, and because Sacramento is now a given for next season, there's some people that think the A's might get stuck in Sacramento, whether they want to or don't want to or intend to or don't intend to. There's a lot of people at least under that impression. So the A's, it seems like they're out of Oakland for now, and they're halfway somewhere, but we don't ultimately know what the end is going to be or when that end is going to be. The Kansas City Royals, I would say their status is getting interesting. They had that April 2nd vote in Jackson County, Missouri, which did not pass. It was supposed to extend a sales tax They would keep paying money out for the next 40 years to the Royals and Chiefs for their stadium stuff, to upgrade Kauffman Stadium, to improve Arrowhead Stadium. But the public voted it down, 58 to 42%, I believe. And so the Royals have since declared that they will not play at Kauffman Stadium past 2030. No matter what, they're calling it done after the 2030 season. So the time is a little bit ticking on that, considering pretty soon we'll be only 5 baseball seasons away from that. But the state of Kansas now, because the state of Missouri didn't pass in Jackson County that sales tax, which would have given the Royals and Chiefs money, the state of Kansas is in the mix to entirely fund a brand new baseball and football stadium in Kansas City, Kansas. Now, their legislative session in that state has just ended, but they're thinking about doing a special session, and you know how that goes in the special session. Something like this could come back for an actual vote. They never even got it to the point of a vote, so we'll see what happens in the state of Kansas. But what an interesting scenario that would be, because the Royals technically don't even need to change names. They stay in the region, but they jump state lines. They can still be called the Kansas City Royals. They would be the Kansas City, Kansas Royals by changing states. Anyway, it's getting interesting because something they were hoping on and banking on didn't work out. Now this, it's not happening yet, but I definitely wouldn't close the door on the state of Kansas part yet either. The Chicago White Sox, I'm going to say that their status is this. It feels like chaos is incoming. Like chaos feels incoming for the Chicago White Sox. They are reportedly asking for $1.7 billion of public funding to build a new stadium and complex at the 78. It's this development, well, not yet developed, but a planned development on the South Loop. Beautiful location on the Chicago River. I mean, so picturesque. Makes you wonder how nobody ever touched this land before. It's right there on the river. You could have water taxis bring you from downtown. There's a rail line right there, so you could ride the L right to the ballpark. It's a perfect spot, but asking $1.7 billion is a lot of money. Now, at the very same time in Chicago, the Bears are also asking for public funding because they want to build a brand new lakefront stadium on Lake Michigan, also with the public dollar. They recently unveiled the renderings the day before the NFL draft, and that number has gone up from like $3 billion to $4 billion. I saw somebody say $7 billion. It doesn't matter. It's a huge project simultaneously. It looked like for a while the Bears and White Sox were going to work together. Now apparently they're on separate tracks again. And this is interesting because if you're a White Sox fan, you've already been through this. Back in 1988, the current stadium, the current old Comiskey Park, U.S. Cellular Field, now it's called Guaranteed Rate Field. Even building that stadium deal came down to a midnight approval by the state of Illinois. It almost wasn't going to happen. So they've already been through this once, White Sox fans have. And there have already been relocation whispers. Well, if we don't get what we want here, we might go to wherever. And I know Nashville has been mentioned. I don't know if that's just the easiest thing to threaten with. We'll see. But the bottom line is the Chicago White Sox have not hidden the fact that if this doesn't go their way, they're thinking about something else and leaving Chicago where they've been for, 100 years? Kind of hard to fathom, and you'd hate to see it actually come down to this, but I feel like chaos is incoming in the Windy City because the Bears are going after something, and what if the White Sox don't get equal treatment? And man, what a headache that is. How about the St. Louis Cardinals? My status with them is this is something to watch. Recently, they came out to say that Busch Stadium, which is 25 years old, I think less than 30 years old in total, it soon is going to need a significant capital infusion. Renovations, upgrades, that's what it's all about. And they also admitted that they would likely be seeking public funding to accomplish this. And when asked about project specifics, they talked about infrastructure and back of the house stuff, behind the scenes stuff. They also mentioned, hey, there's some stuff that fans might be able to see and enjoy, but they wanted to keep Busch Stadium going from a background perspective, the behind the curtain type stuff, more than what fans will actually see in amenities. So no project details or specifics given, but they did give some comparisons of maybe what they'd be looking for. The Brewers and Orioles recently got separate $500 and $600 million packages of state funding and county and state funding, state of Maryland, I know for sure, but people from the Cardinals said that's kind of the ballpark area, get it, ballpark, of what we're looking for. So what if they don't get it? Now, it's hard to believe. I'm just saying something to watch here. Of all the situations, I mean, the Cardinals in attendance, it's down a little bit lately, don't get me wrong. But overall, big picture, they're doing just fine. Their stadium is just fine, as the eye can see. Clearly, they want to think ahead. But I'm pretty sure, and granted, with the Royals, other side of Missouri, not getting what they wanted, with the Chiefs, other side of Missouri, not getting what they wanted, I don't know how people in St. Louis are going to feel about $500 to $600 million to improve, I think, a stadium that only cost $380 to build when it was brand new. So the Cardinals are just something to keep an eye on. The Los Angeles Angels, I'm going to say their status is just always a question mark. The team has recently been up for sale, then it was off the market, then I think it was up for sale again, and now, once again, it's off the market in terms of Angels ownership. They've been trying to secure and develop all the areas surrounding the stadium, that huge parking lot, because, let's face it, in Southern California, there's not a lot of wide open land that you can develop. And the Dodgers at the very same time have started to do this, and there's even further consideration that they might take more parking spaces, they might develop it, they want to build this gondola that goes from Union Station up the hill to Dodger Stadium, and anyway, take away parking and add the gondola. So the Angels for a long time have been trying to develop what surrounds their stadium because, well, they like parking, but you know what they'd like even more? Real estate and commercial properties and restaurants and people that pay rent and a place that maybe they could collect sales tax. So they've had issues. They had a lot of drama with the city of Anaheim going back to a couple years ago. I think the mayor had to resign at one point. It has been messy what the Angels have been trying to do and have not been able to do. So with that said, Angel Stadium is old already. They redid it, I want to say in the 90s, is that about right? Or early 2000s, put the big rock pile out there, made it less of a football stadium, entirely a baseball stadium, and it still looks nice. But of course, the Angels have one of the oldest venues across baseball now, and they're looking for more. It goes, Wrigley, Fenway, then I think Dodger Stadium, and right behind Dodger Stadium, the fourth oldest is the Coliseum maybe, and then the fifth oldest is Angel Stadium. It's all close. Those three California teams, LA, Oakland, and the Angels, I think they're 3, 4, and 5 stadium age-wise. But the Angels are searching for something new, and there's not a lot of options nearby land-wise. Long Beach has been put into the conversation, put themselves, I think, lightly into the conversation, building right by the port area down there. So I don't know if that's viable. I don't know if that's realistic. I don't know what other options the Angels have, and I'm not saying that, quite honestly, kind of like the Cardinals, where you're really going to go. Your attendance is fine. You're successful to a certain degree. You're just trying to squeeze more juice out of this orange. I don't know where they're going to go, but I know they're frustrated. I know they're trying to figure some things out, and sometimes you make a rash decision when you're not getting what you want and things aren't changing. Okay, last but certainly not least is the Arizona Diamondbacks, who back in spring training kind of made some noise because out of nowhere, they basically said, yeah, you know what, we actually might run out of time in Phoenix if we don't get what we want. I'm going to call their status early, but brewing. And considering that the Arizona Coyotes were just basically forced, like poached out of Phoenix in the metro area by the NHL, we'll see what happens to this region with their Major League Baseball team. And I'm not saying the two are related. I'm just saying that, you know, maybe the Diamondbacks ownership can say, well, look how fast a team is gone if the team doesn't get what they want. They can kind of almost use that situation, the Coyotes leaving, as leverage. Now, the Diamondbacks' current lease at Chase Field, it runs through 2027. So that's actually right around the corner. They're going to have to cut a new deal. And part of it probably has to include maintenance of the stadium, which, by the way, apparently, and I don't know this from my own knowledge, I've never seen this with my own eyes, but multiple people have told me that there is still, after all these years, a leak at Chase Field. When it rains, it's a retractable roof. When it rains, it leaks and drips literally right on the pitcher's mound. Not that a leak anywhere is good, but that's very unfortunate. So they want to do renovations to Chase Field. I don't know if they're really thrilled where they built it, downtown Phoenix, as opposed to other spots in the valley, but they're looking for renovations between $400 and $500 million. And yeah, that quote back in February from the executive leadership and ownership was that we may run out of time in Phoenix, but They also went back and doubled down and said, you know what? We're not saying that as a threat. I mean, you said it, and run out of time for what then? But I think, if I can interpret this correctly, run out of time in Phoenix. Well, what about Tempe? What about Scottsdale? I mean, Mesa's out there too, but let's be honest, we know where the hot spots in the valley are and where a stadium might be. There are other locations available and optional, and even the spot that the Coyotes are looking at right now, north of the Loop 101, North Scottsdale Road, there's 110 acres that's going to go up in a land auction by the state of Arizona, and the Coyotes are trying to get it so that they can guarantee themselves an expansion franchise if they secure that land and start building an arena. Well, who's to say the Diamondbacks also wouldn't be looking at that site? Bidding starts at $68 million. Just saying, it gets a little controversial down there in Arizona. So, yeah, I'm not saying that all of these teams are bound to do something tomorrow, but all of these teams, like I said, the best way to probably put it is, are on unstable footing in their hometowns, their home markets. I guess I wouldn't be surprised to see that 3 out of these 7, a decade down the road, could be playing somewhere else or in the final stages of securing their future elsewhere. And that's a sad thing for Major League Baseball. There should be some consistency and tradition to this. I understand evolution, but this doesn't seem like a last-ditch effort anymore to try something before moving. This just seems more like a leverage play in a lot of those situations than anything else. Hey, you made it here to the end of the video. I really appreciate that. Thumbs down if you would, real quick down below. That'll help me, this video, and this channel. And by the way, if you've never seen me or this channel before, I really appreciate it. That's actually a good thing. I'm glad you found me. But do me a favor real quick. Go down there and hit that subscribe button so I can definitely see you back here next time.